Don't think you'll be able to find people willing to pay out of pocket for your therapy services? Do you feel like you have to take insurance in order to have a full caseload? Not so fast. Today's episode is for you. I'll be giving you some helpful tips for how to bring in private pay clients that you might not have thought of before.
Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode.
Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Van Hooser. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, the owner of a Christian counseling private practice, and a business coach for mental health professionals who are looking to start or grow their private practice from a faith-led perspective. This doesn't mean you have to be offering Christian counseling. But as a believer, I know how important it is that the work that I do is being led by the Holy Spirit. So that's something I'm really passionate about, is helping other believers who are working in this field develop a connection with the Lord and really lean into his leading as they develop their career as a therapist. I am doing a special right now called Optimize Your Practice. This is for a structured 60-minute coaching call with me. During this session, I assess 6 different pillars of a healthy private practice. This includes your mindset. It includes your vision for your private practice. We go over client focus and niche, your marketing and networking, your financial sustainability, and all things that are necessary in order to run a sustainable and successful private practice. This will really help you identify what it is that you need to focus on and what you need to do next in order to take your private practice to the next level. You'll also become more aware of what's been holding you back from really launching forward into the private practice of your dreams. So I'm offering the 60-minute coaching session at a rate of $97 right now. That also includes a follow-up 1 week later via email, where I'm going to check in, see how you're doing with the goals that we set, and of course, provide you with opportunity to get more support if you need it. If this is something that you'd like to take advantage of, go ahead and shoot me an email at kimberly@kimberlyvanhooser.com with the word optimize in the subject line. I'll go ahead and leave my contact information in the show description below. In today's episode, I'll be talking about how to find cash pay clients as you're getting started in private practice. I personally have never accepted insurance in my private practice, and I have reasons for why I have done that. It's not a bad thing to accept insurance, so that's something, if you are considering doing, totally fine. But I do believe there are ways to build your cash pay private practice without needing to panel on insurance companies, and I'm going to share some of those with you today. There are several reasons why I've chosen to not accept insurance in my private practice. The first one being, I don't like the extra time and knowledge that is required to panel on or to bill insurance. I would rather just spend my time seeing clients and cut down on the administrative work as much as possible. If you do choose to go through insurance, I would recommend hiring a biller or to go through a platform like Headway or Alma, where they handle all of that stuff for you up front. I also don't like the idea of waiting on insurance to reimburse me, especially when you're in a small private practice. You can't always afford to have a delay in a large amount of payments. If the majority of your caseload are clients from insurance, let's just say as you're getting started, it takes 3 months for you to receive a payment. That's not always financially sustainable. So consider that before you decide to accept insurance. I personally find it to be a little bit of a headache to have to keep track of what clients have paid for sessions and where you're still waiting for reimbursement from insurance. So that's another reason why I have elected to only be a private pay practice. I've also been seeing a lot of posts recently in the therapy Facebook groups that I'm a part of saying that insurance is cutting rates. So that's another thing. If you're working with someone and then insurance reduces what they're going to reimburse you, you have that ethical dilemma of, do you terminate with the client or do you continue to work at a pay cut? Sometimes insurance might deny a claim that you submit to them, and that can take some time. So imagine if one of your clients was seeing you for 3 to 4 months, and then you start to find out that insurance is denying their claim, then you're stuck with the responsibility of figuring out who is obligated to pay. If insurance isn't paying, then technically that responsibility would fall on the client, but they might not have the ability to pay. And even if they do, they're probably not going to be happy about it. So it's just in general, for me, I've chosen the route of private pay, and where it might be a little bit more difficult to find private pay clients, it ends up making the flow of my practice a lot more smooth than if I were to be accepting insurance, in my opinion. So, once more, it's not necessarily a bad thing to accept insurance. I know a lot of therapists who are able to build a very full caseload with insurance clients is a great source of referrals, and they feel good about it. But I think the important thing is to make sure that you consider the complications of accepting insurance. You have a way to respond to that before choosing to get paneled on insurance. If you are simply afraid that you're not going to have enough clients or be able to find anyone who is willing to pay out of pocket, then today's episode is for you, because I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to get cash paid clients. Tip number one, let your prospective clients know that they can use their FSA or HSA account cards to pay for therapy. I would recommend posting this on your website and then also having that be part of your conversation when you have phone consultations with your prospective clients. FSA stands for Flexible Spending Account, and HSA stands for Health Savings Account. For a lot of people, the health insurance that their employers provide for them will also have what's called a flexible spending account or a health savings account, where there's a designated amount of money that they can use that is tax deductible that can only be used for medical or health related needs. So it's a special fund that's already been designated for health related or medical needs that your clients might have access to and be able to utilize for paying for their therapy. On my phone consultations, whenever I'm discussing the fee for service with a client, I let them know that I'm private pay only, but that I can accept FSA or HSA cards, because a lot of them don't even realize that they can use that. And a lot of times, this is a game changer for people because they realize that it's not going to cost them anything extra. They've already had money set aside that they can now use for therapy, and they're not going to care if you don't accept their insurance. The second tip is to have a way for your clients to check to see if they have out of network benefits that would cover their therapy sessions if you were to provide them with a super bill. So, in some cases, clients might have insurance that will reimburse maybe 40%, 50% of therapy sessions, even if you're an out of network provider. And you don't have to do any communication with the insurance on your end. How this would happen is that you provide a client with what's called a super bill after each therapy session or once a month. The client then submits that super bill to their insurance, and their insurance might reimburse for some of the cost of therapy. I use a service called Mintea for this, and I just have a link that's on my website where clients can look up their out of network benefits and see if they are covered. And sometimes it might say you have to meet this deductible, and then we'd be able to cover 50%, 80%. Sometimes they say we automatically cover this amount or this percentage of therapy sessions, but clients are always welcome to call their insurance directly to find out if they have out of network benefits, but that can be a hassle and a headache for people. So that's why I like to have this link posted on my website for clients to look it up themselves in that moment very easily if they're able to. I'll go ahead and leave a link for Mintea in the show notes in the description. I do believe you get a free trial to check out their out of networks benefit tracker if you use the link that I'm providing. The thing to remember with super bills is that sometimes insurance will still choose to deny a claim that your client might submit on their end. A lot of times, insurance won't reimburse for things like couples therapy, or if it's not a strong enough diagnosis. If your client doesn't meet criteria for a diagnosis, then they might not cover the cost of therapy at all. So it's important for your client to still be aware that if insurance does not reimburse them, that they are still responsible to pay for their therapy upfront. You also need to make sure that you are willing and able to provide super bills to your clients if this is something that you're going to recommend to them. Most EHRs will probably make it pretty simple for you to generate a super bill for your client. I use Simple Practice, and as long as I have diagnostic information inputted in my client's file, then it will automatically create a super bill with the information that is needed and showing how much the client has paid for therapy. I set that to automatically send to my clients who want it every single month. So there's really not that much extra work for me to do on my end. But sometimes I'll have a client reach out and say that their super bill was missing some information, that their insurance is asking for a different form of information. And so you just have to be willing and able to accommodate if that is the case. Also, be careful about giving clients diagnoses that they don't actually meet the criteria for, just so insurance will reimburse. That could put you in a tricky position with a client if they're asking you to change a diagnostic code so they're able to get reimbursement when you don't see or believe that they actually meet criteria for that diagnosis. So just be aware of how you're going to handle those situations if they arise. The third tip for how to get cash pay clients is to seek funding from third parties. It's actually more and more common for places like churches to offer to provide coverage for mental health therapy for members of their congregation if they apply. So that's something you might be able to find out as you're doing networking with churches is to ask if they have a fund to support members of the congregation's therapy and how that would work. Or if you're on a consultation call with a prospective client, you can always ask and see if they are a part of a church and if their church provides any coverage and direct them to apply for that through their church. Some potential clients might even work for an employer who will provide reimbursement for therapy costs. A lot of times, this would be through something like an EAP, which a lot of times you have to be paneled already through that company's list of preferred providers in order to be eligible for that. But some employees are actually able to select the person that they would want to provide services for. So you can always ask about that if funding seems to be an issue with your client on the phone consultation. Coming up here within the next few weeks, I'll also have a guest on my podcast from a network called Kingdom Company Group. This is actually a network of Christian businesses that will provide full coverage for, I think it's up to 10 sessions for their employees who are seeking therapy. So be sure to tune into that episode when I drop it in the next few weeks here. The fourth tip that I'm going to mention today that I think can actually be a great way to start getting some private pay clients is to be willing to offer sliding scale or reduced rate services. Now, a lot of other private practice coaches might tell you to not do this because they want you to hold to your value, stick to your fee, and make sure that your practice is financially sustainable. And I agree with all of that. However, as you're just starting out and starting to build your caseload, sometimes it's actually worth it to reduce your fee a little bit in order to start building that private pay caseload. If you want to be able to see 20 clients in a week and you only have two cash pay clients, and then someone calls and maybe your full rate is 150 and they're only willing or able to pay $100, $100 is better than zero, especially when you have the time on your caseload. So I think that taking on clients at a reduced rate can actually really help you feel more confident in the fact that people want to pay out of pocket for your services while providing you with extra income and helping you build your momentum as you grow your caseload. However, there are some suggestions that I do have if you are going to offer sliding scale or reduced rate services. Before you agree to take on any lower fee or reduced fee therapy clients, make sure that you remember in your heart that what you offer does carry value. So don't be taking on all of these low fee clients just because you don't believe that people are ever going to be willing to pay your going rate for services. I also think it works out better when you know that the client actually values the services that you're offering. So you can have a conversation exploring this on your phone consultation to help you determine how motivated they are for treatment. Is there really a need for reduced services, or is it something they're just kind of asking for? I would also recommend having clients fill out some sort of application in order to request sliding scale or reduced rate services. Filling out an application can show that they at least care enough to receive the services to take the time and effort to fill out that application. It also has helped me with the questions that I ask them to help them think about if they have considered all options for funding for therapy, if they've really made mental health a priority, or if it's just something where they're wanting inexpensive services. If you are going to take on a lower fee or reduced rate client, make sure that you're still going to treat them with the same level of excellence that you would any other client. Be on guard against any resentment that might bubble up because a client's not paying you what your full rate is. And also be aware if you're wanting to cancel sessions more frequently or you're just not taking it quite as seriously as you would with your full pay clients, because that is not fair for your client that you have agreed to take on. So just make sure that you're providing best level of care no matter what if you're going to take on sliding scale clients. I would also highly recommend that you have some sort of method or system for how you're going to offer these therapy services at a reduced rate and for how long. What you want to avoid is taking on a client at a low rate and then they stick around forever. And, 2 years into the future, they're still getting services from you at a rate of $60. And it's too difficult for you to think about raising the therapy cost for this client. So I think it's best to usually have some sort of communication about this is the rate that I can offer and for this amount of time or this many sessions. In the past, what I've done is said something like, I can offer you therapy at this cost per session for up to 10 sessions or 6 months, whichever comes first. It might be 3 months. Just think about how long you'd feel comfortable offering services at that reduced rate and provide opportunity for continued communication about their therapeutic needs once those therapy sessions are up. You can always extend providing reduced fee services for your client once they get to that point where they've used all the sessions that you initially agreed upon. But if you initially start with an agreement for it's going to be this amount and then we'll check in, that just provides a natural stopping point or a natural point of check in. So you're not going to get stuck offering services at a rate that you can no longer sustain for very long. Make sure that you put into writing whatever you agree upon for reduced rate or sliding scale services in your consent paperwork with that client before they start services with you. If you'd like any help in determining your sliding scale policy, that is something I'm happy to advise on. You can either ask a question in my Facebook group, or if you're in need of a little bit more one-to-one support, I'm happy to do a coaching session with you. Go ahead and shoot me an email at kimberly@kimberlyvanhooser.com. I'm hoping that today's episode gave you some more things to think about just in terms of how to find those clients that are willing to pay out of pocket. They definitely exist. Once more, taking insurance, not necessarily a bad thing, but make sure that you're considering the pros and cons before you elect to do so and not just doing it from a place of fear or desperation. As I mentioned at the beginning of today's episode, I am doing a special right now for a coaching session called Optimize Your Practice. This is a 60-minute structured coaching session with me in which I will go through 6 different pillars of a healthy private practice. I'll ask some questions to help you assess how you're doing in each area. And then we'll be able to end the call with a clear idea of how your practice is doing with some specific areas for growth and focus. And you'll have an action plan you can take away with specific steps for how to take your practice to the next level. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and shoot me an email, Kimberly@kimberlyvanhooser.com. Put optimize in the subject line, and I'll be sure to get back to you and schedule it as soon as we can. It's been a pleasure to have you here listening with me today, and I look forward to having you join me again next time. If you found value in today's episode, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps other faith-led clinicians like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook community, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist, where you'll join other clinicians for encouragement, accountability, and free tips and support. See you there.